Good morning, it's Dave at All Things Important Reviews. Thanks for checking my channel out. Please smash that like button. Please smash that subscribe button. It's a full watch review. I've got with me today the Alexander Vathos Professional Diver 200 meter A501B-03. The 03 is the two-tone model. This is a sapphire crystal, obviously 200 meter diver, fully loomed, quartz as a bit of a change, because I know a lot of people do like quartz, but they're undervalued in the watch community, in my strong opinion. Does not have a ceramic bezel. It has what I believe to be an aluminium bezel. Fully solid bracelet with screws, with a diver's clasp. It has a kind of snazzy extension there if you was to ever use it. Flip lock deployant, with push buttons, with loads of micro adjusts. Interestingly, the screws on the bracelet, as I'll talk about later, are actually double-sided, but you have to engage both sides to remove them. You have to they're really difficult to get off. Anyway, we go on with let's start with the sizes. This is a nominally 42mm watch, so it's only 42 millimeters across this part. Now I've measured it and it's not actually 42. It's more like 40.1 and a half, or 41, sorry, 0.7 or 41.6 I think I got, if I measure the bezel. The case has very, it has tapered lugs, and it also curves up. So the presence is nothing like the Rolex style super case that you get on the GMT or Submariner, or you used to get, like this. It's nothing like that. You can clearly see how much bigger that style is. So it has a very small presence on the wrist. The thickness of this model is only 10.6 mil thick. It's a very thin model, which is one of the reasons why I thought I'd buy it. Now, the sizing wise, in my opinion, one criticism, even though it's a 42mm watch, it wears more like a 39 or 40. I'm not joking. And that's because of the size of the supporting case is very tiny. And so it does not have a lot of presence, in my opinion, on the wrist. Now, some people might like that. I think this watch should have been a 43mm watch. I think that would have been better. The lug to lug measurement is only about 47mm. It's a very compact watch. Now, some people may love that, others may hate that. I personally would prefer more presence on the wrist with it being so thin. And I'll talk about the bracelet later, but the actual dial is pretty good. It does have a sunburst effect blue, which again is quite nice. It's a kind of navy blue. It's not totally in your face. It's subtle, but it is a sunburst effect, which is totally fine on this model. The branding on the dial and the writing is completely appropriate. I like the Alexander branding. There's a branding on the crown and on the clasp. The dial is fine. You've got a tiny little date window there without magnification. Again, in my opinion, that makes a cleaner look. That looks fine. I think the bezel is good. No, very little back play. Nice and crisp feeling. The bezel is obviously a dive bezel for timing your dives. Alignment overall is good. It's quite good. I think it's a little bit off there, but it doesn't really matter to me. The alignment is on the bezel is the last thing I really care about. The bezel is not a ceramic or sapphire or PVD or lacquered bezel. It is unfortunately this aluminium style, which scratches very easily, I believe. But the crystal is sapphire, which is obviously a big positive, because that'll pretty much never scratch. So for sizes and for the actual presentation of the face, it's good. It is good, but in my opinion, it is bit on the small side for my personal taste. The Victorinox Maverick 43mm, because it has a big supporting case, feels twice as big as this watch. I'm not joking. It feels tiny on the wrist. Now then, let's talk about so the crown. Obviously, there's a screw down crown. Very easy to turn and change the date and change the time. Works very fine. Remember, this is actually a Quartz model, which is one of the reasons why I buy it. Checking out the back of the case, it does have some markings, which is good. It's not a completely plain case. It tells you the model, tells you the water resistance and so forth. So the case back is fine. I do now prefer, because I've been totally spoiled with Pagani, I do prefer exhibition case back so you can see the movement, but this is a battery, so who cares. Let's talk now about the bracelet. Now, the bracelet has a lot of positives and it has some negatives. In my opinion, for this style of watch, the bracelet is almost too bottom heavy. So, you know, it doesn't taper enough for the size of the head. You know, it does balance it quite well, but the watch almost feels too balanced towards the bracelet. It almost feels like the watch head would actually have called for a more tapering bracelet. Some people might disagree, but the clasp is pretty fat. Now, there's nothing really on the bracelet that will irritate your wrist. It is very nicely done. The push buttons and the mechanism, the engagement on the clasp is excellent. It works perfectly fine. You know, push buttons. I hate them friction clasps now. I'm totally used to wearing these, you know, the push button styles. It's so much better. 4 micro adjustments. And it does have on this side a diver's extension, which I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to get out, but it does have. It will allow you to extend it by a few more centimeters. I will never, ever, ever use that because I don't go diving. And when it is hot, I would never change the setting anyway, but if I did, I would just change the micro adjust. It does have screw pins. Unfortunately, the screw pins are really, really tight to get out. They've put too much Loctite on them. They're double-sided, so you have to keep one side in to screw. You have to press on one side with a screwdriver to then get the other side out. You can't just unscrew one side, so that's pretty annoying, but it makes it more secure. The loom is excellent. The loom is really good on this watch. It's approaching, I can't do it right now, but it's approaching Seiko and Citizen style. It's not as good, but it is very, very good on this watch. Personally, in terms of presentation, I would have preferred it if these were polished. They've chosen to have them in a matte, unpolished, brushed finish for the center links. Obviously, the bracelet is comfortable. The problem is, it's not really a problem. The clasp is kind of big and bulky for the watch. You know, I think that this bracelet would have been perfect on a 43mm watch that's a bit bigger. If it was going to be on this watch, I think it would have been better being 1mm or so thinner. I think it is a bit overkill for this watch, but it is a dive watch, you know. Overall, would I pay the money that the watch manufacturer are asking on the website? And there's a link down below to the website. The answer is no. It's not worth $1,050 for what it actually is. I mean, yes, it ticks a lot of boxes, but I do not believe it is in the same league as, you know, a Tag Heuer or etc. Which for Quartz models, you can get some brand new Quartz models for around that off Tag Heuer and off Victorinox. It does not have, in my opinion, the quality of the Victorinox. The Victorinox has a superior bezel, and the overall finishing, in my opinion, is superior on the Victorinox. However, this does have the superior dive resistance, you know, the water resistance, and you could argue that the clasp is superior because it has the push buttons and it has a more elaborate dive mechanism. But the actual, the actual construction of the clasp, it is pretty good. It is pressed metal here, but the swing arm is okay. It's a decent designed clasp, and it is a solid linked bracelet, and it is solid end links as we've seen before. So overall, my criticism is more of a kind of presentation proportions thing. I would have preferred this watch to be the 43 like the Victorinox. I think this is a better size. It has more presence. This is almost too big because of the end link to end link size, but this would have been great at 43. It would have given it more presence, and it would have balanced it against the big bracelet better. So that's a minor criticism. I would not have paid $1,050 for it. I got it in a deal online where I paid less than 300 quid I paid for it. I'll probably sell it on because I'm not the biggest fan of it. I prefer to get another Victorinox or whatever, but it is a good all-round watch. It would be a great desk diver. You could wear it for business, in suits. It's got that two-tone, it's got a bit more pizzazz. It's got a bit more presence because of the two-tone. It looks nicer. I do now generally prefer two-tone watches. I think they just look better basically than the plain, all silver and black or all silver and blue. But there's a market for both, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it's been a good attempt, but in my honest opinion, there are better watches out there for the money. Definitely, I wouldn't suggest buying it at full price, but if you can get it in a deal, you're getting the quartz accuracy, the sapphire crystal, the dive, the fully machined bracelet with a decent clasp. It's a good effort, but it's not worth the prices that they are trying to charge for it. It's probably worth around 300 quid, in all honesty. I prefer to buy something like a Tag Heuer or something like one of their quartz models, one of the macro racers, the cheaper models, or a Longines. They do a few good quartz. Hydra Conquest for around this price, maybe a little bit more expensive, but you can get them like unworn or second hand, in a very, very, very good condition for around this price. So, but it's still a decent effort. If they would have made some of them changes, put a sapphire or ceramic bezel on it, up it to 43, improve the clasp a little bit in terms of the machining and stuff, and then they would have an excellent watch that I would definitely buy again. So, not a bad effort, not particularly for my liking overall, but not a bad effort at all. The thinness means it's going to be super comfortable, and it is a very comfortable watch. So you can wear it all day, no problem. Thanks for checking my channel out. I'm going to have loads more reviews coming up. This is like a micro brand, the Alexander. You won't have heard of them. They're saying they're Swiss made, but I don't actually know if that is true because I think it came from America. But yeah, not a bad watch, but not amazing either. Thanks for checking my reviews out. It's been Dave. Loads more reviews coming up. Cheers.